Hi, everybody. So again, I get to have the most wonderful conversation with this gorgeous, beautiful woman from the inside out as well, about her new book. It's called Reclaiming Wellness, Ancient Wisdom for Your Healthy, Happy, and Beautiful Life. And I think this woman is proving that herself. So I want to welcome Jovanka Ciares.
Yes, hi. Thank you so
Hi.
much for having me.
Thank you for being here. So I just love what I do. I tell everybody this because I learn so much when I'm with an author, and your book looks like you've done a deep dive, not just for your own personal wellness. Well, yes, for your personal wellness, but also what you've put in here is just peppered through with tons of tidbits of what we can do to heal our physical body, but also our mental and emotional bodies, and spiritual bodies. So I appreciate that you put this all together.
Thank you.
So would you just start with your story, your personal story of moving towards wellness, reclaiming your wellness?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was born and raised in Puerto Rico in what seemed to be at the time a very uncomplicated, easy childhood. In touch with nature, it's a tropical environment. So I had the rainforest very close. We were at the beach on a regular basis. We were eating foods that were home cooked and came from the land within just a few hours. And I moved away to go to school and to, make my dreams come true. So I moved to the big city of New York and moved away from that lifestyle. And my body gave me what I now call a smackdown in the form of diseases that, while they were not life-threatening, they were considered chronic in nature or acute in nature. And Western medicine didn't have solutions for me. And so in my mid-20s, I was told, you can do nothing. You're gonna live in pain and discomfort for the rest of your life. And that wasn't acceptable for me. So I decided to go elsewhere, started reclaiming some of the foods and the practices of my own ancestry and incorporate new practices, things like Ayurveda, traditional Chinese medicine, Western herbalism. And what I learned became a big, big passion, not only because it helped my body heal, but because I realized that this information should be accessible to all. So I took it upon myself to share and became an educator, a coach, and an author.
So I want to just say at the top, I am deeply grateful for your personal journey and what you've discovered, having gone through a health crisis myself a couple of times and had to move away from Western medicine. In my 20s, I was very ill, and I went to see my doctor at the time, who was this very old white guy who looked at me. I was vegetarian. I was a young woman, and basically he told me my discomfort, right, my dis-ease was in my head. And then he prescribed some pills that multiplied my issue. And what was happening is I was becoming a type 1 diabetic, but didn't know it. And so that right there was my pivot point. And I only see female doctors now. If I see an AMA doctor, or an allopathic doctor, but I do exactly what you talk about: acupuncture, Chinese medicine. I have tried Ayurvedic. This particular body doesn't like it. That's okay. But yoga and being out in nature, and this is everything in your book. So can we take it? Let's start with the going within part, because that's the big one for me. That going within was part of what became my foundational cornerstone for health and wellness within me. So how did you do that?
Yeah, one of the interesting things when I was not only discovering some of these practices to help us go within and connect with our spiritual and emotional self was my own journey of discovering that as somebody who grew up with a very structural religious dogma, I was told that some of these practices that, you know, now are relatively popular today are not they're not meant to be practiced by people with an established spiritual practice, and nothing could be farther from the truth. The
Right.
one thing that I discovered is that they could be incredibly complementary of each other. So I, as somebody who was raised Catholic, I was taught to pray and to ask and to connect with God, and at the time I felt like I was disconnected, almost like I was not, like I was begging for something, and I was disconnected from what I wanted and from this you know, entity that we know as God or Allah or goddess or God, whatever it is that you believe in.
Yeah.
When I started to learn about meditation, especially, it opened up my realm of possibility. I recognized that no, you don't need to do something in a very dogmatic way. You can make it your own as long as you find a practice that helps you connect with your emotional home and your spiritual home.
Yes.
You can make it your own.
Yes. And I love that. Years ago, because I do guided meditations, everybody that listens knows that. And that started from my own self-healing of trying to get within and connected and all that. And years ago, I was invited to do I forget how they put it, invited to lead parents, invited to it was a weekend camp for children who had cancer, severe stages of cancer, and their parents. And somebody who was running the camp asked me if I would lead the parents in some calming exercises, is how they put it. And I said, sure, I'll do some of my guided meditations. And they went, oh, no meditation. Meditation isn't good, because when you meditate, then the devil can come in and get you.
Oh, wow.
Which, you know, and I was like, okay, so now I got to think about that. Do I even want to go to this, you know, place where they think those things? Which of course I did. And I worked with the parents, which they did get calmer, you know, I gave them some tools. But it's fascinating to me how dogmatic practices, religious practices, shut the door for so many other modalities. I mean, the reason why there is so many things out there, not just meditation and mindfulness practices, but also in your book, there's different foods that we need to eat that other doctors will tell you aren't good for you. You know, I had a endocrinologist who oversees your hormones and diabetes, and I was going to acupuncture. I had found acupuncture. I was doing 3 times a week. This Chinese acupuncturist, phenomenal woman who didn't speak a word of English, was literally saving my life. Mm-hmm. And I told my regular doctor about it. And he said, oh, you know, that's just smoke and mirrors. There's no truth in that.
You know, what's really sad is that both the allopathic medicine community and the rest of us have been indoctrinated. And I believe that we have all become victimized by a system that is telling us only what these people that will end up graduating and putting these white coats, only what they do is valid. But there is thousands of years of anecdotal evidence when you look at some of the other practices. And in fact, a lot of these practices, Ayurveda, Western medicine today uses a lot of the tenets, if you will, of the original form of medicine, which was this medicine that we now call alternative.
Right.
And if we can only find the right doctors to become partners in our healing journey, then slowly we can start changing minds. And there will be some that will never change their minds. But I believe that a lot of people in the allopathic medicine community are recognizing that something else can be done, that they are incredibly reactionary, and we need to focus a little bit more on the preventative portion of this.
Which a lot of the naturopathic modalities present you with is how you can be preventative as opposed to waiting until you got a big kick your ass chronic disease
Right.
that, you know, that you can't, well, allopathic people just don't know. And they're also being trained by the pharmaceutical companies, and the pharmaceutical companies only want to sell you what they manufacture in their plants. And by plants, I mean the manufacturing places, right? But originally, medicine started with plants.
Right. To
And
this
herbs.
day, up to 25% of the world's population still uses plants as medicine. And even in big societies like Japan and Germany, it is believed that most doctors now prescribe a combination of pharma drugs and alternative, herbal remedies, because we know how effective they are. I mean, herbs are some of the best well-studied substances with the safest data behind them.
Yes. Yeah. Well, because they've been around for eons.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, so some of the things you recommend for people when they're starting to reclaim their health is meditation, but I also saw you have hypnosis.
Hypnosis, yeah, big
Wow.
deal. It's part of what you were saying a little bit earlier, and how, and this is not to disparage Western religions or religions in general, but it's an incredible practice that has been around for thousands of years. The people in Northern Europe used it, the people in Northern Africa used it for many years, and it was really effective. We still know of it as a very, very effective technique. But when the religions of the world became the big important practices, they said, no, we need to channel everything through this one set of people, and we're going to call them priests, right? And those people are the only ones that can communicate with God and can help you heal. Everything else is mumbo jumbo. It's not something that you need to worry about. And I think it's a huge disservice. So in the book, I mentioned not only the history to help people,
which I loved reading that,
but also the science, the modern science telling us how effective these techniques are. They have nothing to do with religion. They're not going to take you away from your spiritual practice. They're just going to complement it and help you heal.
Yes. And that to me is why it's important to investigate these other modalities. And so it was fun to see that you had hypnosis in here too, because I've dabbled with, I've been hypnotized. I'm evidently a really good subject. But it did help me find a deeper core truth within myself that I revisit now, because it opened up a memory that I did not know from a previous lifetime. That is one of my core anchors. So, it's just interesting how all these different ones can help you, and it's not not all of these are necessarily for everyone. You got to find the ones that work best for you, right?
Correct. That's the beauty of each chapter or each category of wellness. You'll find in the book 2 or 3 different versions of it. So if hypnosis, you're not ready for it, you can try visualization practices. You can try basic meditation practices. There's a lot that you can take and understand that these practices are part of our lineage, our ancestry, they're our birthright, and so is our state of wellness. So how about we just, open up our minds and hearts and soul, try to learn about them, embrace them, and hopefully reclaim our state of wellness.
Yes. And I love that you also put in walking meditation, and you have I know you didn't know this, Jovanka, but you have my favorite affirmations in there. I am free, I am safe, I am capable, I am strong. And that has also, those phrases right there, I am free, I am safe, I am capable, I am strong. Who doesn't need to know that on a daily basis, right?
Who doesn't need to be reminded? And I put in there the walking meditation because I was one of those people that couldn't meditate at first. I could not shut my brain, so I was instead I just put on a little headset and meditated as I walked, and it helped me eventually graduate to other types of meditation.
Well, plus in another chapter in your book, you talk about other forms of movement. And I know, and from my personal experience, and I didn't realize it, but the walking and saying affirmations or mantras as a meditation downloads those affirmations it rewires your brain faster because you're moving the body, and the body is also helping the brain to rewire. It's so fascinating how amazing our bodies are.
Yeah, there's an innate wisdom in us, and our bodies are constantly talking to us, not just our minds. And if we could only listen and learn to communicate with it, how much better would we be for it?
What was one of the first time, share with us when you first realized that your body had an innate wisdom and you started listening, what was occurring that kind of caught your attention?
Yeah, I had ulcers and IBS. So the first conversations were like gas, bloating, constipation one day, diarrhea the next day, indigestion. It was constant. And I, chuck it to, oh, I'm hungry, or this is what everybody goes through. And nothing could be farther from the truth.
Right.
But it was not until I got diagnosed with fibroids, which are these benign tumors in your uterus, that I definitely said it's time for me to start paying attention. There's a conversation that's been happening. I refuse to listen. And now I'm going to pay more attention. And I just did it simply by, putting something in my mouth, eating it, and then immediately journaling. How am I feeling 5 minutes after a meal, 25 minutes after the meal, maybe 25 hours after that meal? And so you might not consider constipation a communication, but it is.
Right.
It's your body saying, well, something is not happening.
Right. Right.
What could it be? Could it be what I ate? Could it be what I'm feeling, what I'm, feeding my mind? Something is amiss. And slowly but steadily, you start filling up this voice and seeing the full picture.
I love that you journaled this, because maybe I should just talk about me, but oftentimes when I eat something, then I'm on to the next thing. I'm off to do an interview or go to an appointment or have a conversation with somebody. And I forget, when my body starts reacting, I forget that it might be related to the thing I just ate. So it's awesome to use journaling as, because I'm hearing conscious awareness tool of how your body is reacting to the food.
That's absolutely right. And how, you could extrapolate it to almost everything in your life. Mm-hmm. What I just saw the news, or I just talked to somebody that triggered a feeling in me. What is that feeling? What was happening in the moment? You start understanding the connection that you have with others, with the foods that you consume, even with the planet, because you start realizing, every day at 3:00, I start to feel a certain kind of way.
Yeah.
It might be anger, it might be anxiety, it might be overwhelm. It totally gives you a full picture of that holistic part of us that we're chasing for. And it's impossible to do unless you truly pay attention to you.
Yeah. Becoming aware of not just what's around you, but what's going on inside you. And so many people are more aware of what's around them and what's going on outside of them.
That's right.
Yeah. So, this caught me. Oh, well, you talk about a plant-based diet. Let's talk about that a bit. You said when growing up, you ate off the land,
Yeah. we ate, like this is Puerto Rico. So it's a tropical land and there's like tropical fruits everywhere. And this is a small town where, the neighbor had a mango tree and they had a plethora of them. So they will share it with the neighbors. It was a beautiful way of communing with community, but also with the foods from nature. But I also ate a lot of other stuff, right? We ate, pork chops, and I had a normal diet of rice and beans and all kinds of other foods. Once my body gave me that smackdown, I realized there is an issue with inflammation and an acidic environment in the body that could be causing some of these problems. And as you said, Western medicine didn't know, these experts in the human body wouldn't know what the right fuel is for your body. So I started to read books and listen to documentaries and podcasts and all kinds of, well, podcasts didn't exist when I started changing my diet. And I first became a vegetarian, and it was a journey, right? It took time. I would go back and forth between vegetarianism and regular diet. And eventually I went fully plant-based. So today it is the diet that I recommend, is the diet that I believe is most strongly supported by science in terms of its ability to help us retain health or reverse some of the conditions that we know today that are plaguing us, like heart disease, diabetes, cancer, and others. And most of my clients, as a coach, as an educator, most of my clients are not plant-based, but they come to me with severe inflammation and chronic diseases, and they want me to help them bring in more plants into their diets.
So, what are a couple of plants you would recommend for somebody with inflammation?
Look, I talk a lot about an alkalizing diet. And so one of the first things that I tell people is to start with what you know and love. So rather than telling you one plant or two or three, chances are there will be one or two things that you absolutely love. It could be potatoes, I recognize. And
Wow.
if it is potatoes, maybe it's all about going to the supermarket and finding other types of potatoes. Perhaps they're Japanese sweet potatoes or regular sweet potatoes that you might want to try. So it's closely related to what you know and love, but it's something a little bit different and new. And you want to cook them in the same way that you cook regular potatoes, so you're not too super overwhelmed about the process. And then you go from there. Maybe you love, mangoes, or you love bananas or apricots or whatever it is. So start with what you know, increase the amount of that what you know, and then the third step would be eating the rainbow. Every time you go to the market, am I putting the 7 colors of the rainbow in my cart? If I don't know something that is colorful that I absolutely love, this is the time when you want to be creative and adventurous and try different fruits and vegetables that you've never tried before that might be on the color scheme that you're not familiar with.
So now, why is that? Just because it seems to me like the visual creates like a happy juice in your brain or something, just looking at the colors.
It's also a way for Mother Nature to ensure that we have all the nutrients that we need without us having to go to school and learn about nutrition or become doctors or whatever it is. We know chances are that if you eat those 7 or 8 colors plus, right, other colors might also be part of your regimen, you will almost guarantee that you will have most of the nutrients that you need in a single day, whether it is macronutrients or the micronutrients or the phytochemicals and enzymes and all the amazing things that all these foods have to offer in the right ratio, because Mother Nature in all its amazing wisdom knows that, yes, you need vitamin A and vitamin D and C and E, but how about you have an apple, which has all of those in the right ratios that will interact perfectly with your body.
Oh my God, I love that. And I have to go to the market later today. I'm going to look for other colors and put in my basket. I love that. And it makes a lot of sense to me, especially if you're moving from a diet that causes inflammation and some other chronic illnesses to see and to do it before you really have the bad chronic illness.
Right. So remember, you and I were a little bit lucky in that our conditions, our bodies were started to talk to us, and we started to listen before these smackdowns became life-threatening diseases. And
Mhm.
so, as uncomfortable as you might be today, know that you have the capacity to get a lot worse. So start now, start immediately. Do something today that will help reduce acidity in the body, reduce inflammation, and get you back to the state of wellness that you deserve.
Well, and what I love is what you said earlier. You can reverse a lot of this kind of stuff too by paying
Oh,
attention.
absolutely. Just last month, I went to the doctor with my partner, who had not gone to a doctor in 10 years. And of course, he's a little bit overweight. He was found to have early stages of high blood pressure and
Mm.
high cholesterol. And luckily, the doctor that we went to is a plant-based doctor. And the only thing he said was like diet and lifestyle. You can reverse these conditions. All you have to do is take care of your body in the way that you hadn't in the last decade. And in a matter of just a few months, you can be a completely different person.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love that. My son and my potential soon to be daughter-in-law
Yeah.
are both vegans, and I raised my son as a vegetarian, but then he chose to be a vegan about 5 or 6 years ago. But because he was raised as a vegetarian, I taught him, and he seeks out, what do we need to eat that gives us the protein we need, and what do we need to eat so we can have a long lasting energy system, as opposed to
Right.
going for a smoothie or a salad. Excuse me.
Becoming a muffin vegetarian like I was at some point, because you can claim to be vegan or vegetarian and eat soda and ice cream and French fries, and that's not the goal, right?
No, and that doesn't keep you healthy.
No,
It might
absolutely
taste
not.
good for a hot minute, but yeah,
But then eventually your body again will smack you down into back into reality.
our body is the wisest thing.
Yeah.
So you also talk about you have one chapter called Oil, Water, and Heat, which I just thought was so fun because it's got a lot of stuff in here that I love to do.
Yeah.
So, but it's an interesting way to bring the chapter to people's awareness.
Yeah. Other than the use of plants as medicine, to me, oils and heat and water is one of the easiest ways to ease your way back into reclaiming some of these wellness practices, because most of us have easy access to a bathroom, and most of us can easily spend just a few dollars and buy some base oils, some essential oils, and incorporate them into our routine. And so when I talk about heat and water, I am literally talking about the practices of heating water or cooling water for healing purposes. So saunas and steam rooms, but you don't have to have a sauna at home to embrace them. If you have a bathtub, you can take a bath once a week, and that is practicing not only herbalism, if you include some oils that are infused, but also practicing allowing some of that water to impregnate your skin. Remember, 20% of what goes in your body goes in through your skin. So whatever you put in that water will get through your skin into your body and find a way to help you feel better.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And when I do take a bath, I love to put some essential oils in because it
Oh,
also calms me down. It's a
yeah.
good way to de-stress too, and detox.
Yeah,
Definitely.
absolutely. And if you don't have a bathtub, you will have a shower that may require you to, put the water really, really hot and close all the windows and doors so that that steam will stay in the room a little longer. When you come out of the shower, you can then moisturize with those amazing essential oils, base oils and essential oils, and bring that medicine into your body.
So, Jovanka, give us a couple of essential oils that people may not know are really
Hmm.
good, have healing components. Everybody knows about lavender, but
Right, right, right. So you can use rosemary, which is it's a relatively popular one, but it's what people don't know is that it's actually great for as an analgesic, so it helps you reduce pain.
Oh,
And it also is a stimulant. It's a mild stimulant. So students, I remember when I was a college student, my grandmother told me about rosemary. She said, grab the little bottle, and when you're studying really hard and you feel like you're falling asleep, just smell the essential oil and it'll wake you up. And that's exactly what it did. And I remember being in the library, and the librarians would be like, what are you doing? Thinking that I was doing something illegal. And I'm like, no, it's just rosemary. So I love it. Another one that people may not know would be frankincense.
oh, I love frankincense.
Frankincense, it not only helps you kind of connect spiritually, but what people may not know is that it increases digestive flow, and it helps you reduce indigestion. So if you can inhale, you can smell it, but you should not put it inside your body unless it is food grade. But I also loved it when I could find it in food grade form, which is a little bit harder to find. You can just put a couple of drops in your water and drink that water, and it helps you with indigestion in a very, very strong way. There's many others out there.
Yeah, I did not know that piece about frankincense. I've been using it over the last few years for like when my neck gets really stiff and sore. I rub some of that on it before bedtime, and I wake up and my neck can move and all that stuff. I love the smell. It's kind of my
I
new.
use chamomile on a regular basis because, as you said, lavender could sometimes get to be a little too much. So at nighttime, and I mentioned this in the book, I put a little bit of base oil. In this case, it's sesame oil because it's warming and grounding. And then I drop a few drops of chamomile essential oils, and I massage my feet for a few minutes as I say my little mantras or prayer for the night, put some socks on and go to sleep. And it helps me sleep just so well.
Oh my God, that's lovely. With sesame oil.
Sesame oil as the base oil, because it's you can buy a bottle for $15 and it'll last you months and months and months, and it's very grounding and very warming.
Oh wow. Okay. I'm gonna get some because
It
I
also
need all the
smells
grounding
good.
I can get.
Yeah.
Totally, so reclaiming wellness, what would be like 3 things you would share with someone uh for them to start besides some mindfulness something?
Yeah. The first thing I always tell people is to reclaim your space and your time. And what does that mean? Mostly, most of us have weekends. Our time during the weekends is a little bit more free. So on one of the days of the weekend, I want you to walk around your space and find the one room or space that you can reclaim. It might be the bathroom, it might be a den, it might be a spare bedroom, it might be your yard now that it's getting warmer. And then reclaim your time. And that might mean, okay, what is the one time when this space is empty or I can reclaim it? If you live alone, you're golden. But if you don't, that might mean you have to wake up an extra half an hour early to know that you're going to have that space that is just yours, and you will be uninterrupted for however long you choose. It could be 20 minutes, it could be half an hour. And then once you've found the space and the time, it's all about picking one of the practices to reclaim. And it could be just listening to a podcast or a meditation, reading a book, or watching an inspiring video. It could be having listening to some music and having a good old cry and letting things go. I can't tell you how many people tell me in my practice, I just sat with some music and just cried.
That happens to me almost every other day. If I have I listen to Yo-Yo Ma and his amazing cello work, and within like 5 minutes I've got a box of Kleenex, and I don't know what I'm crying about, but it's every morning, so and crying is a really good therapeutic release of stressors, because we all carry grief around that's unexpressed. Everybody. It doesn't matter if you've experienced death in your family, you've got grief. and it might be from your ancestors that you
Or it
just don't
might be
know.
from the problems of the world and realizing
Mhm.
how sometimes we feel really powerless. But at the end of the day, it's about giving yourself permission to emote and to be and to release those emotions and recognize that you too deserve to be well and to just let things go.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people, well, especially in the Western culture, I mean, I grew up in California, and there was the whole idea of being, and I'm the oldest, of being the good girl,
Mm,
following the rules. It was like, and so anything that I wanted to do that was out of the box or different, I was met with, no, you don't do things like that,
mhm.
and
True.
so I couldn't even find me until I got to be in my 50s.
Listen, I grew up as a middle child, and I grew up her hearing, when your older sister does it, then you'll get to do it. And but she had a very different set of interests than I. So there's a lot of things in my childhood that I didn't get to experience because I was waiting for somebody else to experience it first. It's the silliest thing.
It's funny because we do our families of origin, even though they're well-meaning and do love us most of the time, um, the things that we're told as children and then we believe them to be truth is also a precursor for illness. And
Yeah.
because we're not, we chill I'm speaking for myself now, I guess, but when we're at a very young age, not necessarily allowed to be fully who we are,
Yeah.
like, oh, she's a precocious child, or he's a rambunctious and needs to calm down. When we're not allowed to self-express
Yeah.
to the level our soul is calling us to express as a small child, then that becomes our first smackdown, like you say.
Right.
Our first, okay, no, you can't do that. So then,
It causes a trauma, right? That stays at a cellular level, and it could, as you said, could eventually manifest into serious diseases. And it doesn't have to be life-threatening, right? Like it could be anxiety, it could be recurring muscle pain. There's a million reasons why we need to heal our childhood trauma. And I'm not, in no way am I disparaging well-meaning parents, because they're also
right.
carrying trauma and doing the best that they could. But it's critical that we re-embrace. This is where meditation, hypnosis, and some of these other practices become so powerful.
Well, and journaling, like you said, journaling not just about your food reaction, but what did I just see or witness that is causing me to feel? What am I feeling? And I do that often in my journaling practice. Who am I today? What am I feeling? Why am I feeling anger, or why am I feeling sorrow? And it's not to point a finger at something or one, but it's for me to become consciously aware that I am feeling that.
Yeah.
Because a lot of us spend a lot of time suppressing our
Oh,
emotions, which causes our immune system to suppress
yeah.
without even realizing it, because it's also interconnected.
Yeah, absolutely. I love what you said about asking questions, because a lot of people often, get in front of the page and I'm like, I don't know what to say. But instead, if you ask what, how, where, when, the why might be the last question to ask because it involves value system. It's harder to answer. That's the reason why we as parents have a hard time answering that why to children. But how about we answer the others first? And chances are this entire viewpoint will start to crystallize in front of us.
Yeah, yeah. And that's to me, that's how you get to know yourself. And in knowing yourself, then you become self-responsible. So then you become the one making the choices, not the doctor telling you what you got to do. Right. And allopathic medicine, the doctor has the authority, and
he's the only one with the authority, even though you are the expert on this machine.
exactly.
We call body. Somehow this person is not only the one with the power, but it's not even open to the idea of understanding from your point of view.
Yep.
what is going on. And it's important that we never see doctors as our enemies or as people to battle with, but as our partners. And we go
Yes.
in there empowered to let them know, I know that you're an expert in the heart or in the lungs, but I am an expert in Jovanka. And so
Yes.
I need you to listen to me. And especially women, because we know historically women are not, their pain is not considered, their trauma, their history is not considered. And if you're talking about women of color, it gets a little bit
It's more
hairy.
complicated.
Yeah. So it's critical that we, especially as women, take that power back.
So Jovanka, let's just talk about that a little bit because you're a woman of color. Let's talk about why is that different than say how I interact with my doctors.
Yeah, I think
Because people need to
historically,
know this.
yeah, historically, and this is something that now we have historical reference, but also scientific proof that doctors, and it starts from hundreds of years ago in the time of slavery. Brown people, black bodies were not considered human or fully human, and thus we were not believed to be experiencing life the way white people experience life. And that included pain, suffering, joy, bonding, and all kinds of other feelings. Fast forward many hundred years ago, we're still struggling with systemic racism in our systems, in our policies, in our laws. And the people that are alive today have been indoctrinated to still, whether consciously or subconsciously, believe that Black bodies can sustain pain, can tolerate things, are stronger, are healthier, are bigger, are, more resilient. And nothing could be further from the truth, that we have to start recognizing each individual as a universe. And there might be Black bodies that are super strong, and there might be white bodies that are super strong, and vice versa. And this is part of the reason why we need to take control and that power back, and then go in there to our doctor's office when we're struggling with a condition, informed, educated, and empowered to go in there and tell them, no, this is a partnership. You know something, but I know something too, and it's important that you listen to me in a kind of way.
Yes, and respectful.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate you saying all that, because it's not something that other white people think about. And I love how you said that each body is its own universe. And I think that that's true, because while I do believe we're all connected in one universal consciousness, that each of us, it goes back to the rainbow in my shopping cart, because each of all those little vegetables, we all have different expressions and different ways of being. And like you talked about, the apple has all the vitamins you need in one little compact thing. It's true about human beings. We all are, have everything within us that we need to be healthy and happy, but we are just 1 degree different from each other, even in the same culture, where our skin, my skin looks like everybody else's kind of thing. Right. We're all different though too. Absolutely. So it's interesting to think about to address people, and this is just human awareness, right? Yeah. To address individuals as the individual they are, and not based on the way they look or even the words that they say.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Ayurveda believes that everyone is a universe. And what's interesting is that even if you're a twin and you have grown up in the same environment and you look exactly alike and your gene pool is very similar, you are so much more unique than the person next to you. And that uniqueness is gorgeous, and it's to be revered. And also to understand at the same time that we are part of the collective. And yes, it is a beautiful thing that we have, most of us have all these organs and all these things that we call a body, and we all look relatively similar, right? Like if you compare us with another species, like a dog or a cat, but at the end of the day, we are so unique and so special. And this machine we call a body is like a 5-star hotel. And you would never, ever, ever, go in there and just throw like crap in the 5-star hotel. You want it to look gorgeous and luxurious. And that's how we need to see ourselves every single day.
Yeah.
And with every single choice.
With every single choice. I love that. All right. So the book is called Reclaiming Wellness, Ancient Wisdom for Your Healthy, Happy, and Beautiful Life. And everybody, she's got so many tidbits in here. This is the kind of book I will keep so that I can just open it up. What does Jovanka say today? Oh, I think I might want to do that.
Thank you.
So you have a website. Would you tell everybody what it is?
Yeah, it's my full name and last name. So JovankaCiares.com. If you type in Jovanka, Jovanka, and then the title of the book, Reclaiming Wellness, chances are you'll find me. I'm everywhere on social media with the same hashtag. I'm probably the only brown Jovanka you will ever meet. So it's a very typical, very popular name in Eastern Europe, but not so much in the New World.
Wow. Isn't that fascinating? And you got that name. Wow. Wow. And everybody, so we'll have all that information in our show notes as well. So is there one last thing you want to say?
Oh, I would say to people, whether it is this book or any other book that will inspire you to reclaim a wellness practice, know that when you do, you're not only honoring the lineage and the people that came before you that passed on this amazing knowledge for your benefit, but you will also honor the people that are coming after you, your children, your grandchildren, and the people that hopefully you'll pass this knowledge on to, so that they too get to reclaim and keep their natural state of wellness.
Oh my God, I got chills when you said that. Thank you so much. I'm so glad I asked you that question. Thank you, Jovanka. Oh, wow. So I'm just going to end with, and so it is, namaste.